And good evening, everybody. Welcome to As Good as It Gets. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with former Nets shooting guard Derrick Gervin. Coming to you on a Thursday evening. Hope everybody's had a great day. I know everybody's excited about Father's Day weekend coming up. All the dads out there, we get one day, fellas, one day out of the year. So we got Father's Day. I hope everybody has seriously great Father's Day weekend. D man, the season is finally over. What a NBA season, full of all kind of stuff. But it was capped, I gotta say, by some great basketball played by the Denver Nuggets. And when the playoffs started, you thought they were the best team in the NBA, and they proved it pretty easily, really, D.
Well, first, let me say good evening, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and I was
thanks
going to
for
say,
tuning in.
and thank you for doing that.
Hey, well, I mean, they were the best team. A lot of people talk about injuries that happened on the other side in the Eastern Conference and all that, but that's every year. So the last man standing is what it's about. And if you look at Denver, they were pretty much healthy all season. The guys bonded. They got much better when they added Bruce Brown and Contavious Caldwell-Pope. That's when I got on the bandwagon. As soon as they traded for those guys, I was a believer. But I don't want to slight the Miami Heat. I think they overachieved this year. They played well. They came up short in the championship, but I think the better team won. But I want to congratulate Denver, but also want to congratulate the Miami Heat on a fantastic season. And definitely they overachieved, and I want to give Jimmy Butler and those guys the credit they deserve.
Yeah, D, I am so with you on that. I'm like, dude, if I got a buddy that was a Heat fan, and he was out there. Dude, y'all were number 8 seed. You beat Boston. You beat Philly. You made it to the NBA Finals, man. What a great run.
But it looked like they kind of ran out of gas. I still think they lost to the better team, but they looked like a tired team at the end, Ricky. As you see, their legs seem to be gone on those jump shots. So that's what happens when you play in the play-in games. We can't forget they had to play 2 play-in games just to qualify. And so they played well. I'm proud of the way they played this year. I think that they have nothing to be ashamed about. And hey, sometimes being second is not always a bad thing. There's 30 teams. They finished second this year, and I think they had a great year.
Dude, what about the Joker? And besides playing in the NBA, you played overseas for several years, and you've seen the development of the international players. And Joker may be the epitome of the impact of the international players in the NBA, winning MVPs, and now, leading his team to the NBA title and being the MVP of that series. Your thoughts on the Joker?
Well, if I look at all time, you already know we've been around a little while, Ricky. So we've seen the Jabars and the Wilts and those guys, the Olajuwons. I'm gonna put Joker. I'm not saying he's better than those guys, but I'm gonna put him in his own class because what he did this year is something we've never seen in the playoffs. I know Wilt Chamberlain led the NBA in assists one year. But to see Jokic go into the playoffs and be the leader in points, I believe, and rebounds and assists, I mean, that's something that hasn't been done before that I can remember. So the guy is a freak of nature. He can't jump over the curb, as they say. But, he's just a solid player. Whatever you need on the court, off the court, he seems to be the type of guy that you can depend on to deliver. And if you look at it, Ricky, even at the end, he talked about he wanted to go home. His job was done. I love the guy. He's the reason I picked the Nuggets in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got that. I'm gonna have to. I think I got that. D. Let's see.
NBA champion, Nicola. How does that feel?
It's good. It's good. The job is done. We can go home now.
The job is done.
That's priceless.
We can go home. I'm taking that to the golf course.
Ricky, do you know that some people got offended by him talking like that?
Why? Why would you be offended?
Well, we know human beings. Everybody's different. I'm saying, like, what did he say that was wrong? I mean, the guy, he gave everything he had all season, everything he had. And now he's enjoyed his, they won the championship. He got to spend time with the players. They had the parade. What's next but to go home? So I'm with him 100%. He definitely earned his trip home.
The job is done. We can go home. And D, he has gotten better since he was first of all, he was 41st player picked in the draft when he came in. I believe that was 6 or 7 years ago. And he has just gotten better. What is it about his game? Because he can't jump. He's slow, but he's not slow. He's obviously very crafty. Was that you that said you saw some Kevin McHale in this?
Oh yes, that was me for sure. Yeah, Kevin and a few other people. The Dream. Yeah, but with him, Ricky, if you look at it over the last 2 years, I'll say maybe 3 now, there was a transformation with his body. If you remember, he was kind of heavy. He kind of reminded me of Brian Big Country Reeves when he first came in, and he shed a lot of that weight. And as you can see, he's kept the weight off. His conditioning has continued to get better. He was outrunning Anthony Davis, that's for sure. So the guy just worked hard, and he's continued to get better. He's taking his craft very seriously, and I appreciate that, especially today.
Yeah, he was the 41st pick in 2014. So, he's been around. So he has worked his way to the top of the league as a player, and you got to give him his props. But how about Jamal Murray, his sidekick, coming off 2 ACLs, and that's a long road back. You dealt with injuries in your playing career. When you get hurt, man, in that league, it is tough. But credit the Nuggets for hanging with him, and credit Jamal for getting back.
I didn't shed a tear, but I was as close as I could be. I had to pull my tears back. I was so happy to see that guy win. As soon as the clock went off, Ricky, and the game was over, he's the first person I thought about. I didn't think about Jokic. I thought about Jamal Murray, his comeback. If you look at it, the last 2 years, Denver had a good team, but they were missing something, a key ingredient. And the key ingredient was Jamal Murray. So to see him come back and have an outstanding season, an outstanding playoffs, man, that's what the fraternity is all about. I was a proud guy. And I got to say this quickly, Ricky. I was also happy for Ish Smith. And DeAndre Jordan and those guys. That they were on the bench, but they continued to be team players. Even Thomas Bryant, who was traded from the Lakers, who thought he would get more playing time. He went to Denver. He didn't get the playing time he expected, but you never heard him whining publicly. So they earned the championship, and I was just proud to see all those guys get a chance to have a ring, to get a ring.
And D, you look at that series, and my good brother George Sharon, checked in. This was a great playoff. It sure was, George. And thank you, my brother, for checking in. My love to everybody down there in Tar Heel country, North Carolina. But did you mentioned Jordan, Ish, good NBA players, been around. Thomas Bryant, who played significant minutes for the Lakers. Those guys couldn't get minutes in Denver. Reggie Jackson saw a little bit.
5 guys. Zeke Najee.
They'd have probably played a lot more if they were on the Miami bench.
You're right, Ricky. There you go. You got 5 guys that sat on their bench that could have helped the Miami Heat. It's the truth. And the best part of it is all season, you never heard a whimper out of Denver. You didn't hear anyone complaining. Reggie Jackson, who's used to playing 30 minutes a night, he went there. He was quiet. Ish Smith was quiet. They just continued to work and trust the process, as they say. And today they rewarded with something that could never be taken away, and that's an NBA championship.
Yeah. Hey, let's look back at the year, kind of a little season in review. Well, let's start in the West since we got our champion in the West. I guess other than Denver being the ultimate champion, and Denver sat atop of the league the whole time. They had a little stumble kind of late in the season when they lost a few, but they were always
they took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, they were always the number 1 seed. They actually finished 53-29. The team right behind them at 51-31 were the Memphis Grizzlies, and they are probably the biggest story after Denver, but for all the wrong reasons, D, when you look at what's going on with Ja Morant.
Well, if you look at it from the beginning, when everyone was picking their teams, Memphis was one of the teams that was being picked to come out of the West. But I'm hoping that the young people that was paying attention understood the message. If you want to win, everyone on the team has to be bought in. Everyone. From the management, the owners, everybody, down to the players, the equipment manager, everyone has to be all in. And when you're not all in, it causes problems. It causes friction as the season moves on. And if you look at it, Ricky, you know that Memphis is a very good team, but they weren't a very strong team mentally. You had too many things going on all year. You had Dylan Brooks with his theatrics. Then, of course, the Ja situation came. They ran into some unfortunate injuries. So they had a rough year. But the bottom line is the teams that stayed together and got along well, those are the teams we watched in the championship.
Yeah, another team in the West that I thought had a really good season, and we need to keep our eye out for it are the Sacramento Kings.
Sacramento Kings. I already know where you're going.
Yeah.
And Ricky, can I say this about Sacramento? Because I don't know if you've heard it yet, and the fans. But right now, listeners, they're talking about a possible move in Sacramento. They're trying to possibly acquire Bradley Beal.
Right.
So that, to me, that's interesting because I'm wondering, who would they have to give up? Maybe Kevin Horter and a couple other guys, but that's something interesting to me that I'll be watching because I want to see how they're going to make that work. I think they had a great year last year, and I'm one of those guys that believes sometimes you have to run it back and see what happens the following year before you make a move. So that'll be something interesting for me. I'll be keeping my eyes on that move.
Hey, they definitely would not now. You're not going to give up the Aaron Fox for Bradley Beal, are you? But
no, they would have to give up like Horter. I'm sure they would ask for somebody like Malik Monk, maybe even a rookie I wouldn't give up either, Keegan Murray. But they got Harrison Barnes, so they got some pieces. Davion Mitchell from Baylor, they got pieces. It's just, do you want to lose those pieces? Because they had a really good year last year. I mean, they were they lost to the Golden State Warriors in the 7th game. So is that something you want to break up? That's something they're gonna have to try to figure out.
Yeah. Speaking of figuring things out, the Warriors, they got some decisions to make. D.
They're talking about keeping Poole and Draymond and trying to make it work. So that's going to be interesting to me because we still got some more days that we're going to find out what's going to happen with their team because we're also looking at the Klay Thompson situation. Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. What's going to happen with all these guys? So right now they're talking about keeping Draymond and Jordan Poole. But after Bob Myers left, I mean, anything could happen. That's something we're going to still have to watch over the summer.
Man, and as I look at the East, I mean, outside of Denver and really Sacramento, who has momentum and are looking to add firepower, everybody else got questions. Phoenix, the Clippers, the Lakers, Minnesota, New Orleans, Oklahoma City's another young team. They got a ton of draft picks. You know, I don't know. They were 40-42 last year, finished 10 in the 10th spot. Then you got Dallas with all kind of question marks, and Utah and Portland and San Antonio, has the number one player in the draft. I'm telling you, man, this is going to be an interesting offseason.
Hey, Ricky, the most interesting in the last several years.
It really is, man. It really is. Do you think we'll see a lot of and we hadn't even got to the West. You could see that those teams, all those teams in the I'm sorry, we haven't got to the East.
We haven't got to the East, but everybody knows what you're saying.
All those teams in the West, all of them could have significant roster changes by the start of the year. Outside of Denver and well, even Sacramento's looking to add a huge piece.
Yeah, it's crazy, and you're right. We haven't even got to the East yet. The West. The reason it's so crazy is because now, and I'm sure you heard it, they're already talking about, is this the beginning of a Denver dynasty? Yeah. So, as you know, teams like Golden State aren't going to stay pat. The Lakers aren't going to stay pat. The Suns aren't going to stay pat. We know the Suns aren't going to stay pat. They have to figure out what they're going to do with their bench. We know the Mavericks aren't going to stay pat. We got to figure out what they're going to do with their bench. So it's crazy looking at some of these moves. We don't know about the Pelicans yet. What are they going to do with Zion Williamson? So it's still a lot to be uncovered as we move on. So it's going to still be a busy summer, even though there are no games.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and it looks like Chris Paul won't be back in Phoenix. That they're just going to let him walk. You know, he's an older guy, D, and he's having trouble, as older guys do, staying healthy, but he still brings value.
Hey, Ricky, I wouldn't mind seeing him down here with the Spurs in San Antonio, Texas, with Victor Wembanyama. Just to be that voice. I don't know, and they say every year he gets hurt or whatever, but I don't bank on that because I don't ever bank on people getting injured. But I think he would be the perfect guy to kind of indoctrinate Victor Wembanyama to the NBA. You got Greg Popovich, and then you bring in who the guy they have called the point guard. I think that's something that really could work here in San Antonio.
And our great friend Tree McDougal's checking in. Dynasty? No. But they will be competitive for a few years. And, of course, Tree is my co-host along with Tim Turner on Tuesdays on our show. You get what you get. You can get us right here. Tune in at 9 p.m. But I think Tree's right. They're going to be good. But, man, they're going to have some guys. They're going to be coming after them because as good as they are, I think people are still saying, yeah, but it's Denver. You know what I mean? Denver just doesn't have that. Boston.
They don't have that appeal. They're not one of the bigger markets. I've been through that 5 times down here with the Spurs. So I don't think they're going to have a dynasty. I'm not one of those people that think they're going to have a dynasty. And by the way, I'm going to say good evening, Mr. Tree. I don't believe there'll be a dynasty, Ricky, but I do believe next year they're going to be another tough team. They're going to be tough again next year because a lot of these guys have been built. They built their team pretty much through the draft as well, similar to Miami. And so I think they're going to still be a really good team. But as we know, next year, a lot of these other teams are going to be better as well. So we got to just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Hey, let's look at the East right quick. And, man, I guess that I don't know if they're the most disappointing team in the league this year, but the Milwaukee Bucks, they finished with the most regular season wins. They were 58-24, got knocked off by Miami. Giannis was hurt for a couple of games, but hey, man, that's all part of it. It cost that losing that series cost Mike Budenholzer his job. So they got a new coach there. Your thoughts on Milwaukee and what you think they need to do to get back to the finals? Because they will be one of the top teams in the East.
I like the Milwaukee Bucks, but I'm still trying to figure out this. I told you earlier in the year I like them, but with Bobby Portis was playing a very, very vital role on their team. And so I was already kind of nervous and leery about what kind of year they would have. I like the team, but I don't think they've been the same since Chris Middleton got injured. The year he went to the Olympics 2 years ago, he hasn't recovered. He hasn't been the same since then. 3 years ago now, whatever it's been, him and Devin Booker, when they went over there, Chris Middleton has not been the same guy. And that's affected their team because he was their second leading scorer with over 20 points a game. He had become an all-star. He was playing really well. And him being out affected the team. Brook Lopez was hurt. He was in and out of the lineup. So that affected the team. So they had a lot of stuff going on, Ricky. And at the end of the day, it tells me by them firing Budenholzer, there were some things going on behind the scenes that we weren't privy of during the season. I don't think they get rid of him unless there were some things that were going on over the course of the 82-game season.
Yeah, and D, all year it was Milwaukee, Boston, Philly. And damn if Miami didn't beat all of those guys.
Well, Miami was a team that was all that bought in.
I mean,
what do you think wins, Ricky? What do you think wins, talent or teamwork?
Oh, teamwork.
That's what I'm hoping the young people learn.
Obviously, you got to have talented players, but man, it has to be teamwork. It has to be. And people throw the word culture around. And D, I don't know if it's culture, but it has to be a like-minded goal for whatever reason. You know what? We hate the coach. I remember back in the day, all you old school guys out there remember the Oakland A's from back in the day. They hated their owner.
Charlie Finley. Charlie.
They fought with him all the time. And to prove him wrong, they would go out and win the World Series. They won like 3 straight World Series. So you got to have, I think you got to have.
Hey, Ricky, let me throw in Billy Martin while you're on it.
Absolutely. Billy Martin.
It's not about, I think guys forget sometimes, and the ladies as well. And I think sometimes people, you want to get the glory. And you have some of those that are more worried about glory than they are about being true to their team. The smart thing to do is to go out and be true to the team. If you look at it, Jokic personifies what a champion is about. Steph Curry and Jokic, Nikola Jokic. There's no player in the league that would not want to go play with those two guys. And the reason is because they're leaders, but they're not leaders in a negative way. They pick up their players as opposed to beating them down. And that makes guys want to play for you. So, man, I just love everything about Jokic, and I love everything about these teams that even Miami Heat. who had all the undrafted players, but they played together, they trusted each other, and they still made it to the NBA Finals with all those undrafted players.
Well, okay, now what does Boston need? I think they need a true point guard.
Point guard.
You talk about Chris Paul. How about Chris Paul running that offense?
I like that, but I think they have a point guard. They I don't know why they didn't play Malcolm Brogdon. I don't understand that, Joe Mazzulla. I would rather have Brogdon at the point guard and Marcus Smart at the 2. I never understood that. Marcus Smart is not a true point guard. Mazzulla should have learned that in the playoffs in the championship last year. So that's what disappointed me. The way that they played Brogdon, that hurt me. I think he's their point guard, but they just didn't use him in the right capacity. They got Derrick White, who's another guy I think is a good backup point guard. I think Brogdon is the right piece. But if they don't, then I'm with you. Chris Paul's a guy that fits in there. Maybe even a Trae Young. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's been talk of Atlanta maybe moving Trae Young. I mean, again, it's going to be a fascinating offseason. Philly, what does Philly need to get over the hump?
Well, they got to stop. Well, now it'll change because they'll have a different system in place next year with Adrian Griffin. No, who they bring in? Nick Nurse. Adrian Griffin's in Milwaukee. I'm sorry. Yeah, they brought in Nick Nurse, so they'll be playing a different style. But here's the key, Ricky. James Harden. Is he going to buy in or not? Because I don't know if he's going to like the style that Nick Nurse is going to bring. So until they figure out what they're going to do with Harden, it's going to be hard to make an assessment on the Philadelphia 76ers. If Harden decides to stay, that means he's going to buy into playing Nick Nurse's way. And for me, I don't think Harden wants to play Nick Nurse's style of ball. I think Harden really wants to go back to Houston so he can be, well, in his mind, the James Harden that he was 4 or 5 years ago. But that guy's gone.
Yeah, but I wonder. So he's not interested in winning the title then if he wants to go back to Houston.
He's been talking a lot about Houston, Ricky. I told you he's already won one title. People they think I'm crazy when I say it. The guy got his jersey retired in the strip club, man. I gotta always go back to that. To even mention Houston means he's not really worried about winning the championship because we know that's not happening in his time in Houston. So maybe he wants to go back because of his business interests and things like that. He does have business interests in Houston. So maybe that, in my mind, that'll be the decision he makes at the end. I think he'll end up a Houston Rocket.
Hey, D, Cleveland Cavaliers won 51 games last year. You had 4 teams in the East win 50 games. Milwaukee 58, Boston 57, Cleveland 54. I'm sorry, Philly 54, Cleveland 51. A good young team. Can they make the step? What do they need to do in the offseason to make the step to jump one of those top 3 teams ahead of them?
They need to bring in a Pascal Siakam or someone like that, a veteran forward who's been there, who knows what it takes to get to the playoffs and those kind of things. Pascal Siakam is a proven winner, and that's what I think they're missing. Bringing a guy like him, it changes the entire organization. So there's my answer: bringing in someone, a forward. Who can a 3? I'll say a 3 and D player is what they're missing, and with that, they're a contending team.
Hey D, I want to cover the East, but this guy could end up playing in the East, playing somewhere. It's amazing to think that there's a possibility that Zion Williamson could be traded this year. That is amazing. Well, but when you consider the fact he hadn't been able to be on the floor, you kind of understand it. But there are reports that the Pelicans are kind of shopping quietly around to see if anybody's interested in Zion Williams.
They're trying. It's not even really that quiet. They say it is, but they're trying to see what if they can
Yeah, it's
make
not that
something
quiet.
happen.
Everybody
Possibly.
knows, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Charlotte Hornets. That's the key is Charlotte Hornets. Do they trade Zion, try to move up in the draft so they could get Zion in a trade and Scoot Henderson going to the Pelicans? That's what I've been hearing. For me, I say I would make that move, Ricky, if I could move up to second in the draft. And the reason I would make it is because I know how good Zion is when he plays. But in the last 4 years, he's averaged 28.5 games a year, 114 games in 4 seasons. And I talked about him when he came out of college.
You sure did.
So for me, that's an easy move. If I can get Scoot Henderson, a guy that I see playing 10 or 12, 15 years, I would make that change. I would give up Zion because I don't even know if he's all bought in. We still don't know if he loves the game or not.
And D, you sure did. You talked about him being susceptible to injury when he was coming out of Duke. And to our viewers who didn't hear you talk about that, what were your concerns back then, and they have kind of come into fruition?
Isn't it amazing, Ricky? The 2 guys I talked about, they're both in the headlines. Ja and Zion.
Yeah.
Different reasons, but they're in there. The reason I thought Zion, first of all, we've never seen anybody with his body. They talk about Charles Barkley, but I got drafted by Philly, and in my Charles' second year. Him and Zion don't have the same type of body. And then you look at Zion, he's very athletic. You don't see guys that could get up off the floor like he could. Barkley wasn't jumping like that. And he's just different. He tried to block everything when he was in college. He just doesn't, what I would say, know how to pace himself. And I don't mean by slacking off. I'm just saying learn when to go after shots, when to stay on your feet, and things like that. And that's what Zion hasn't seemed to learn. But the biggest question, Ricky, is how hard is he working in the summer? That seems to be the question for me now. His diet and the work that he's putting in the summer will be my big questions for Zion Williams. So if I could trade him, I'm telling you, for me, I would trade him. I want to see Willie Green succeed in New Orleans, and if that means they have to get rid of Zion, I'm all for it.
All right. Now, Jordan Queen checked in to say he agreed. What was it? The point you agreed with, Jordan? Let us know, and we'll put it up there. And thank you for your comments, and we thank everybody for checking in to As Good as It Gets with former Nets shooting guard Derrick Gervin, and I'm Ricky Hampton. D, you mentioned Scoot Henderson. I want to see if I can find some of the. Let's look at some of these possible draft picks. Well, this is Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick by the San Antonio Spurs, and he's going to get a chance to play with one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game in Greg Popovich. And Jordan Zion needs to be traded, absolutely. Okay, Jordan, we got you on that, brother. Your thoughts on Wembanyama?
Hey, Ricky. Let me tell you this quickly, though. Jordan has some basketball knowledge. He's really good friends with my former teammate, Dennis Hobson.
Oh, Dennis Hobson, Ohio State.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So Jordan knows what he's talking about. And thanks for tuning in, Jordan. Victor Wembanyama. Wow. Man, the closer we get to the draft, Ricky, the more nervous I get. Because they played the other night. They're playing in the championship, I believe, right now in France. And they got beat the other night. And Wembanyama had like 8 points or something like that. 6 points maybe. So as it gets closer to the draft, I'm a little nervous, man. He's 7'4", 210 pounds. He hasn't had a history of injuries, and I hope that continues. But man, the first year, I see him getting pushed around a lot. So the Spurs are going to get better just by his presence, but they still going to be a ways away. I'm hoping he has a really good first year, but I think his first year is going to be definitely going to be a learning experience, and I expect the Spurs to be better, but I expect them to still struggle this coming season.
Jordan says, Wemby, a once-in-a-generation talent, nothing to be nervous about, but he isn't the center. Actually, that's what makes me nervous, Jordan, because, you know, you said and you're a jump shooter. I mean, I don't want him to be a 7'4" jump shooter. I want him to be
Ricky. Does he almost remind you of Ralph Sampson without what Ralph didn't have that range, but I mean body wise and stuff.
Yeah, he does. He does.
I don't even think he's a center.
I thought Ralph could play. I just thought Ralph just got hurt.
No, I'm just saying the body type. No, Ralph would have been a Hall of Famer without question.
Yeah.
But Victor, you know, I keep hearing about he's the most coveted rookie to come out and all of that. I don't agree. I don't think he's more coveted than LeBron James, because when LeBron came in, we knew for a fact that LeBron was going to be a superstar. I don't know that about Victor. I have to be honest. We have to see how things go. With LeBron, we didn't have to see how things go.
Yeah. Yeah, Jordan, the closest thing to Samson we've seen. I see a lot of Ralph in him. I see that. Ralph just couldn't stay healthy, man, with those knees. And after Wemby, we're going to see some clips of Scoot Henderson. And most people think he'll be the number 2 pick in the draft.
Rookie of the year.
Woo! He'll be rookie of the year over Wemby.
Rookie of the year. And I don't care what team he goes to. Rookie of the year.
Wow. You like him that much. There he is right there.
Hey, Ricky, I'm telling you.
Summer. Nice young man, too.
This kid here, man, is a total package. The only thing he has to work on to get better is on his 3-point shot, and that'll come because he wants to get better. He's already working out with Steph Curry. I saw a video of them recently working out together. His shot is already looking better, and he's learning from the master. He's learning how to shoot the ball being around Steph Curry. He can only go – his upside is really, really huge. I think people don't realize yet how good this guy's going to be. Superstar.
That's Scoot Henderson out of for the Ignite team out of dang, dude. And those are the plays that scare me, D, when these guys get up so
all that jump, You know how I feel about all that Ja Moran and Ja high jumping, him and Zion, all that stuff. Sometimes you don't have to go in there and dunk it and fall all on the floor. Just lay the ball in. But you know he'll learn that as 82 games. He'll learn quickly.
When you played, did you throw down? Did you try to throw down on people or?
I only dunked. I posted a video of me dunking. It wasn't a video, a picture of me dunking on James Edwards for the and one. That's one of the few dunks I had in my career, man. I only dunked when I had to. If I was on the play, remember the play with Andre Iguodala, the one that LeBron blocked, Ricky?
Yeah.
When they at the end of the championship,
at the end of the game, yeah.
That's the shot I would have dunked.
Yeah.
See, plays like that, that's when you dunk. Me, I made sure I could make my layups anywhere off the backboard. As you know, I'm a Gervin, man. We practiced our spins and stuff off the backboard. That's the shot that we grew up practicing. So I just made sure that I could make shots that I was going to do in the game. I didn't work on a lot of dunks because I knew I wasn't going to get a lot of opportunities to dunk in the game. So I worked on what I was going to be doing the most, and I was making my layup.
Yeah. Now we're looking at Brandon Miller out of Alabama, 6'9" freshman. Your thoughts on Brandon?
I was on the phone earlier with a gentleman from Detroit who lives in Las Vegas now. Kep, are you listening? We talked about Brandon Miller. I think Brandon Miller is going to be a really good player. I don't think he's going to be a great player. And the reason I say that is because I'm worried about him mentally. I talked to Captain and I asked, what's the most important thing for a basketball player? And it's not your basketball skill set, it's your mentality, your mental approach. And that's what scares me about Brandon Miller. If he can come in and behave after getting paid all of this money he's going to be getting, and his behavior stays intact, then I think he'll be a really good player. But that's questionable. When I have questions on guys, I have to always be a little skeptical. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping he'll be a really good player. I just hope he gets there and he behaves the right way. And if he does that, he'll be a really good player.
Now I believe we're looking at I believe this is Amen Thompson.
One of the Thompson brothers, Amen Thompson.
Yeah. And George Sharon saying that you did. I think he's talking about the Gervin scoring prowess. You guys just put the ball in the basket. That's the main thing. It doesn't matter if it's a dunk or a layup. It's 2 points.
2 points.
And Jordan, again, Wemby will pull up Giannis-type rookie numbers. People will be upset about that. But make no mistake, they force within 3 years. But yes, he likes Scoot as MVP. And I think Thompson is 18, 19 years old. I mean, man, they're just so young. It's hard for me to see him making an impact at that age, unless you're a LeBron kind of guy.
What they're going to have to figure out is which brother they think is more ready to play now. Is it Amin or is it Asur?
Right.
I think the other brother, Asur, is more mentally ready. The 6'6", well, they both 6'6", but I think one of them is more inclined for defense, to play defense, and the other one is more of an offensive player. Amen is more of an offensive player, if I'm correct. But I think these two brothers, Ricky, I think they're NBA ready. I don't know if I can say that about Brandon Miller right now.
Yeah. Thoughts on Imani Bates? Hey, Michigander, right out here, right outside Detroit. Imani had a phenomenal, well, it was only a freshman, and I think he played his freshman and sophomore year in high school and then left for a prep school.
Eastern Michigan Eagles.
And went down to Memphis. That didn't go well, playing for Penny Hardaway. Came back, had a good season at Eastern Michigan. They did not win a lot of games.
Ricky,
he had a good season.
Ricky, a good season at the George Gervin Game Above Center, sir.
There you go. Well, y'all got y'all's names all over the place. Your jersey hanging at the.
I told George that was him, and you know what he told me when I said that? He said, "No, this is us. This is our family. This is not the George Gervin Game Above Center." He said it's the Gervin Center.
It's the Gervin.
I'll never forget it. I was surprised to hear him say that.
That's a great point, because you guys are a basketball family. But your thoughts on Imani?
I like Imani. Man, I'm gonna say this. There's one team I want him to end up with, and I'm gonna say it, and I hope it's the Phoenix Suns, because he does have some Kevin Durant in him, and I just want him to be there to see how guys prepare themselves on a daily basis. Devin Booker is a guy that works really, really hard. KD, as we know, is a basketball junkie. So that's where I want to see Imani end up. I don't think he's going to be a first-round draft pick, I'm sure he'll be disappointed about that, but I think the Phoenix Suns have his name written all over it. And then I think he'll get in there. He's going to make some people regret drafting him as low as he'll probably go.
Yeah. So
I like the young man.
The draft, by the way, is June 22nd. We got the NBA draft. And do you think Sports Illustrated was out of line putting him on the cover of their magazine at 15?
No, because that's how high, as you know, Ricky, he was hyped. You were in the area to know what was going on with him. A lot of people in the South or wherever we made the West, they didn't know about him like we did because they not from that area. He was built up like a Magic Johnson, a LeBron James, all the best players that ever come out of high school. So it didn't surprise me at all to see him on Sports Illustrated. At that time, his ceiling looked he had unlimited ceiling. So, no, it wasn't a surprise to me at all to see him on the Sports Illustrated. I think it was well earned.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, he kind of got sidetracked after he left Ypsilanti and did the prep school thing. So he's had his ups and downs, but we are definitely pulling for him here in the Detroit area to for him to go on and do well. D, what are you? One or two things you're most looking for? We got these free agents that officially begins, I believe, the 30th. Harden will be a free agent. Kyrie Irving, Middleton. If I'm Milwaukee, man, I got to be careful about. I know they like Middleton, but man, can you pay him a lot now? The way he's been struggling. Hey, Porzingis is a free agent. Fred VanVleet is a free agent. Draymond Green, Jeremy Grant, Chris Paul, Brook Lopez. A lot of good players. Kyle Kuzma is out there.
Well, there's a lot of good players. Zach LaVine, I don't know if he's a free agent, but he's on the trading block. I've heard DeMar DeRozan's name on the trading block. I've heard Vucevic's name on the trading block, and all those guys just coming out of Chicago. So it's going to be a very interesting year. And then, Ricky, I want to switch for a second. You asked me about the two parts. The other part I want to mention quickly. I don't want to see another player, African-American, black, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to see another player get questioned about their behavior as we go into this summer and this next season, man. It is absolutely asinine that these guys are getting paid all that money and the pay scale is rising, and guys still won't behave the way they're supposed to, man. It breaks my heart. And we got to do something about it. It needs to change right now. Respect the game. Respect the game.
Well, D, that brings me back to Ja Morant. Do you think Adam Silver is going to try? We know he's going to send a message to Ja, but is this for everybody else?
It's for everybody. I think the message is going to be for everybody. I think this message. See, some people say I've heard 30 games, I've heard 40. I'm gonna say it here. I still hope it's a whole year. And the reason I'm gonna say that is I started giving in a little bit and saying, okay, I can understand, because I try to hear everybody's side. So some people, when they explained to me why they thought 30 or 40 games, I was open-minded about it, and I listened. But after what came out a few days ago about this toy gun and all that nonsense, I'm saying that this man needs to be suspended for the entire season. And hopefully while he's off for this season, he understands what he's doing to himself and what he's doing to his family, and also these young people that he's supposed to be a role model for. So we know they're going to be announcing the decision really soon. Whatever decision he gets, Ja has put it in NBA's hands now. So he can't complain. Whatever decision they come up with, he's going to have to live with it.
Yeah. Jordan, Golden State or Denver are the type of teams that stash a guy like Imani. They have both proven to have great scouting departments. So, well, we'll see. The draft will be the 22nd. D, we got to get out of here, man. But
Okay.
any final thoughts until next Thursday?
No, I just wanted to thank you. I wanted to wish you a safe trip. My final thought is these guys, no more incidents. Just respect the game. They're paying you guys a lot of money. And remember, it's not about just you. It's also about the players that are coming behind you. So we just got to make sure we get on our game and let's have good behavior and show these kids the right way.
Well, for former Nets shooting guard Derrick Gervin, I'm Ricky Hampton. We'll be back next Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, peace. Take care.
I love you, Ricky. Have a safe trip. Thanks for tuning in, listeners.